Brought to you by Telehelping, a virtual assistant staffing company for professionals.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cody Hall, and I'm the host of The Faces. Entrepreneurs are people too, and the founding CEO of Telehelping, a virtual staffing organization, and the herein sponsor of this podcast. So I appreciate you so much for Telehelping, allowing me the opportunity to hang out and drink coffee with great people like Christine. How are you doing this morning, ma'am?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited to chat with you. From our first introduction call, I'm like, I think I found someone who's similar to me. And so I'm excited for someone who's like, they got hands in all these baskets. So I'd love to understand, like, Christine, who are we chatting with today?
So my name's Kristen Corral. I am a serial entrepreneur, if you will, at this point, kind of like yourself. I started randomly as a showgirl in Las Vegas. That was my background. That was my training. And then I opened my first business in 2011. It was like a dog walking, pet sitting, and animal massage business. And then from there, I scaled that, sold it, and now I own restaurants with my husband and other partners. So we own 7 restaurants and we own a retail line and some other things. So yeah, I stay busy.
Chris, that's awesome. Humble beginnings from showgirl to CEO. I love it. Right?
Yeah,
That could be a book. You know,
I am working on a book.
think
Not
about it. I always throw out free advice in these conversations.
yeah.
No, that's really cool. And so that's interesting that you were doing, and this was in Vegas, I
Mhm.
take it. So you're
Yep.
doing a dog walking business. I almost started a dog daycare, like an indoor daycare in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It was
Somebody did do that too. Well, they did like an indoor dog park, kind of.
correct. They did. So they were going to be our direct competitors. I'm not going to say that I didn't take my dog to their place multiple times a week to scope them out and figure
Yeah.
out how I was going to do it better. We
Smart.
were going to go more for like area 15 size volume. Like
Oh,
we had a lot of backers and it was going to be really great, except then I got a divorce and priorities shift. And so I was focused on other things. And then the IP and everything that we had in regards to the names and everything was also duly owned because it would have been technically operated by my ex. And so I was not going to operate the business, but it was such a cool idea. I was so excited for, like, imagine what we were going to use an old Big Lots facility that had
mhm.
closed. Like walking into something that large just for dogs, I was in Vegas when you can't go to the dog park because it's 115 or there are homeless people sleeping on the bench.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. No, and pets are a great business because I mean, technically they're recession proof essentially. People travel less and things when money is tight, but yeah, I mean everybody puts their pet first. So it's a great business.
No, I agree. I was actually so funny because pets are an interesting topic. Is just last night I was walking in from putting my son to sleep, and I used to be the person that called my pets my children, right? And my staff would be like, this dude does not have kids. Fast forward a decade later, I sit there, I walk in, I'm like, oh my goodness. When people say that their pets are their kids, is so aggravating because they don't have to deal with what I just went through.
Yeah,
Like, you don't know with that 3-year-old, you can't put a 3-year-old in a kennel and walk away, right? It's
no,
frowned upon. And so that's,
it's
yeah.
frowned upon.
But people love their pets. And that's why I love this so much because it's recession proof. And as I'm sure you can express, like, I'm always thinking about how to get into another business. Like right now, I'm thinking about what can I get into Vegas. Like I love painting businesses. You mentioned something about a laundromat. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, I'm always looking at buy, biz, sell, like just a crazy person and just seeing like, okay, what other businesses could I, as if I have time at all. But I'm kind of this mindset of like these boring businesses that boomers are selling and kind of like passing down that generational. It's like already built. It's like a box for the same reason that we are now franchising Tacotarian. It's like we've done all the work. We've figured out all the systems and processes, like, the recipes are there. If you wanna get into a restaurant, like, the easiest and the best way to do it is to buy a franchise, because you're not like, the restaurant industry is incredibly difficult, so why not capitalize off of somebody who's already
Correct.
done the hard work first, you know?
Correct. And I say this from someone who, I mean, you or Tacotarian, which by the way, I love the freaking name. Like it says the taco vegetarian in it. Love it. It's like when I started my restaurant, I did not have an idea. I thought I did. What goes into just making decisions on things that if you buy a franchise, it's like, hey, listen, here's your playbook, right? Take this, turn the pages, follow the instructions, right? It's like an IKEA furniture. It's
Yeah.
just as complicated, where it's like actually picking like what color green do I go with? So yes.
Yeah, and in a franchise, you don't have to worry about anything. It's literally someone just hands you, like, a restaurant in a box, essentially.
Well, where are your restaurants? Where are they located currently?
So, right now, they're spread out between Las we have 5 in Las Vegas and 1 in San Diego. And then, obviously, from there, they'll be franchised, so potentially everywhere?
Yeah. No, that's great. And what, are you a vegetarian? Is this what sparked the Tacotarian?
Yeah, so my husband and I have been plant-based for years.
Cool.
And like you were like I'm American and he's Mexican. So, and then my other business partner, one of them is American and the other one's Mexican. So it's two Americans, two Mexicans that came together to kind of like create this concept. So that's why it was like plant-based Mexican food because they wanted to bring the Mexican aspect. And of course,
Of
like we
course.
have the plant-based background. So there was really a gap in the market for high quality plant-based food, but specifically Mexican food. And that's kind of where we've been successful is like we're not just marketing to vegans or vegetarians because that's a very limited amount of people. We're marketing to like, hey, we have really good quality Mexican food. Oh, by the way, it just happens to be made from plants.
And that's important because I've also experienced that. I mean, I'm sure in some city like San Francisco or New York, where I was eating something like, wow, this is incredible. And you're like, hey, yeah, actually, that's not beef. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not beef? What is this? They're like, well, it's beef, right? But I love that you do that. And I appreciate the fact because, especially with like Mexican culture, like the meat's important, right? And so if you're able to hold the flavor and then also get the taco experience, right? But be plant-based, that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been challenging, but it's been really fun and we're just kind of excited for this new chapter. And then on the
Yeah.
side, my brain is like, should I build a camping site? Should I build a glamping site? Like, what should I do?
It's so funny because since we originally spoke, I've decided to vertically integrate training and certification to telehelping. And
Okay.
so we were outsourcing it to organizations to do it. And I'm like, why am I giving people my people to charge them money to get them something that I need them to have? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that. And so we've started vertically as well. I actually just the other day sent out a private placement memorandum to our legal team to raise for the sister company. So in such a short period of time, I took something from a concept to a private placement memorandum that was 70 pages long, right?
Yeah.
With evaluation. And so I'm like, and then it will be live by January. Like if you're asking yourself, people, what a serial entrepreneur is, it's a person who doesn't just sit on an idea. They're like, I want a laundromat. So
Yeah.
and then
Like,
they
time
do it
to
and
go
they get a
get one.
laundromat.
Laundromats are hard to come by though. You'd be surprised. Yeah, no, I know there's like a saying, like if the quicker, I forget what it is, but basically like if you move quick, like you'll be successful. I mean, not always. There's of course like you'll make mistakes, but if you're sitting around waiting forever to make a decision, like that's money that you're losing out on, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I just had some folks on yesterday called Tribe and Purpose, and it's a dad and son, and they run a coaching organization that essentially helps people break down purpose and steps, right? And so oftentimes we use the example of me surfing. So since I've moved full time to Cabo, I picked up surfing, right? It really only took me about 3 weeks to learn how to surf like effectively because I would break it down into small steps. I'm like, all right, well, it's intimidating to go out here with all these people, right, who don't speak much English. I'm going to get in their way and look like an idiot. So my goal today is just to go out onto the wave. Like, I'm not going to catch one. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to break that barrier. And then
Yeah.
and so it's step by step. That's the one thing that serial entrepreneurs have. They have the ability to see a larger objective in smaller tasks and then just take it bite by bite. And they're able to
Yes,
walk
which
down that
I've
path.
realized is not how most people's brain works. Because when I'm trying to explain like an idea to somebody else, like my mom or something, I'll be like, "No, we could do this and this and this and this and this." And she's like, "What?" Like they can't see how you get from A to B a lot of times unless it's like broken down how you just
Yeah.
described.
I mean, I safely use my wife as an example for this all the time, and she's okay with it because she knows it's true. But my wife will be the type of person, right? She's always been a very beautiful woman, right? And now that she's mid-30s, she's like, oh, I really have to start actually exercising, right? To stay this way. And I'm like, yeah, imagine that. Like, it doesn't come free anymore, right? And
Yeah.
say she loves her tacos. So, right, we need a taco place down here that's plant-based. And so I tell her, like, she's like, well, I'm going to go to the gym twice a day. I'm like, well, you have the time, right? You should go. I'm like, cardio in the morning, you can do weights and calisthenics with me later on. But the thing is she will, the first week will go twice a day, every day. And then the next week, too much work. Well, it's a lot. Versus like maybe once a week, go twice a day. And so on Wednesday, you go twice a day. And then the next week, if you feel comfortable, go 2 more times that day. So she
Right.
doesn't really bite it off. They're like, I want to be the goat. And then when they realize that, wow, that's a lot of work. And they fall short of what their expectation was, which is success, right?
Yeah.
Then they stop.
Yeah. No, that's fair. But in that example, I feel like most people are like overwhelmed by going to the gym twice a day. So I
Well,
won't hold that against her.
I won't hold it against her too, but I wasn't the one who walked into the room and said, I'm going to the
Right.
gym twice a day.
Yeah.
And my response to her was always, because at this point in time, like I know like a playbook. And I was like, great. How about this? Why don't you go twice a day on one day per week? Or like, and then you go twice a day, you don't go with me. I'll go surfing in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right. And so that you don't have to do cardio with me because I love my cardio. And so, you can't double it down. And so her biggest thing is she's coming back from just having a child 4 or 5 months ago, four and a
Oh,
half
wow.
months ago. Right. And so she's like, I miss me. I'm trying to find that person again
Yeah.
because she's like, she'll like look at photos of herself. Like, oh, I remember this girl. She's like,
Yeah,
it's great.
exactly. I don't have kids, but I watched my sister give birth and like watching her follow around a toddler. And I have so much more respect for women after like seeing people with kids, having a kid, and then going through like the early years. It's like, it's kind of incredible. So props to
Yeah.
her.
Well, the great thing is I will say I think businesses resemble a relationship with children more than animals do. And I say that because children in their infancy stages and their child stages, they really don't have much regard to where you're at in that day. Like it doesn't matter where, if you're happy, sad, stressed, or tired, right? What's gonna happen is gonna happen. What they're
Yeah.
gonna do is going to take place. You just have to kind of take it on the cheek and you're like, all right, well, last week we had one of our senior account managers quit, right? Not something that we want to take place, have someone who's worked with us for 4 years, have a family emergency that takes them away. Like, also, that same week was the first week my kid didn't have school. So, like, we're busy in the house. And so a lot of things go into that. That is businesses sometimes. So when you have multiple businesses, how do you manage life when because you definitely have problems at the same time, I'm sure, across your
Of
organizations.
course, yeah. I mean, of course, we're lucky that with our restaurants now, we're like a little bit more established where we're not putting out every fire at every restaurant. We do have managers that are involved. The nice thing about us is that we're a team. Like, there's four of us and we all do different things. So we're all putting out different fires. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's focus and it's multitasking. It's a skill, right? That you kind of have to build as an entrepreneur. And if you're not good at it, you got to get good at it. Or some people are just naturally good at multitasking. Like my husband is that person where like he can't talk on the phone or do anything if there's any other noise anywhere. Whereas like me, I can like talk to you. I can do this. I can do this. I can be on my phone. Like I
I,
can do like 20
I'm
things.
with your husband. I can do it, but by goodness, I would prefer it be quiet.
I feel like that's also like a male versus female thing. I feel like men have to like focus, no offense, on one thing at a time, and women are really good at multitasking, right? I think
Correct.
that's just like built in.
my wife will be on the phone, sending a text message, walking to the sun, like walking to the truck with the kid in her hand, right?
Yeah.
And I will be there trying to send a text message. I'm like, can I not get some quietness, please? Like I'm trying to deal with this one issue, and then I'll move on to the next task.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I really think it's like something ingrained in us.
Well, what I find interesting, and I definitely I feel like I can align with this is chat with about like the earlier days of your restaurant before you had that manager structure. Like, what was that? Because I know what it was like. What was that like?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, and even going back to like the pet sitting company, for instance, like my pet sitting company was me. I started that in 2011. I had no college degree, no experience. I didn't know how to use QuickBooks. I didn't know how to manage, labor and all of this stuff. And I started completely by myself. So I was doing all of the business stuff. And I was also out there like walking dogs, like taking care of people's cats. I was like, it was all word of mouth to start until I learned how to market myself properly and bring on a staff. But even then, like when you're solo and you're kind of this like solopreneur in the beginning, if someone calls out, you have to go walk those dogs, but you're also trying to like scale the business. So I think that business really set me up for success and how I operate the restaurants, because I do see the value of like, you can't run your business and grow your business at the same time you're like working for a cashier as a cashier, let's say for, 15 bucks an hour or whatever it is where you are. So like you have to figure out the balance of like where your priorities need to be to grow the business and not be so embedded in the business. But when we first started like our first restaurant, so I don't know if you know the backstory, but like I of course worked in restaurants as a teenager and growing up, but I never was like in the restaurant business. Where my husband and my other two business partners were in the restaurant business for 20 years prior. They were in like upper management and like CFO and events type positions at the same restaurant. So they all knew each other.
Oh, nice.
But then they were doing a work trip to Mexico City, and I got invited along because I was the only spouse that didn't work for the company. So I went, and the four of us got to talking like, hey, we should do our own thing. What if we did this? What if we did this? That was in February of 2018. By April, we had signed a lease, and by August, we had our first restaurant open. So that goes to your point about what you're doing right now. It's like we just moved. We were like, this is it. This is what we're doing. We're going to move. So we opened in August 2018. We did everything ourselves. We did all of the paint. We did all of the tile. We demoed. We hooked up all the equipment. We hung the lights. Like we did everything. So we opened that restaurant for like a very minimal expense in the grand scheme of opening a restaurant.
Yeah.
But then, and we did that for our second restaurant too. And so for the first couple of years, we were like so embedded and ingrained into like every single detail of the restaurant industry. But that's also how you learn. And for me, because I
Yes.
hadn't really managed or run restaurants, prior to that, aside from being like a hostess and a waitress, so it gave me the opportunity to like really learn all the aspects of the restaurant. Because my role is predominantly like digital marketing, helping setting up the trainings, all the PR, loyalty, all of those aspects. So it afforded me the opportunity to really learn how the entire restaurant runs.
That's so funny. And it's hilarious. So you were running this restaurant, doing all these things, and maybe you had a similar thought process as me, because I sold my like, you know, 8-figure like healthcare business, right? And I'm like, okay, this is great. Like I'm going to go off into the sunset and hang out in Mexico, right? And then the entrepreneur hit, and I was like, we should start a cafe. And a cafe became a full-scale brunch restaurant. I'm really not sure how that happened, but not it's still. My wife's like, "You did this," and I sat there one day because you're right. Like you find yourself like even if you worked in restaurants like I have as well, you find yourself doing so many roles that you never thought you're doing. I remember one day I was sitting there, the host. Like I'm the host, right?
Yeah.
That I'm in the middle of central Mexico at our first restaurant, the 6'2" white guy in Mexico, the host. I'm sitting there, I sit there, I'm like, I sold a multi-million-dollar healthcare business not so long ago, and now I'm a host.
Yeah.
at my own restaurant. And so I was like having like this like really like surreal moment where I was like, man, I'm like, and then my wife, like I've seen her in the kitchen, right? I've seen her as a barista, right? And so until you get those like kinks and those of the slinky kind of worked out and then get management in there, like you are the solution. Like,
And in some cases, like, we still are the solution. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if, for instance, like, we go to our San Diego location and there's, like, a huge event and they're getting their asses kicked, like, I'm not just gonna stand there and watch, like, we're in the trenches, like, we're, bussing tables, we're taking orders, like, you will frequently see us, at our restaurants, not necessarily working a full shift, but we're not gonna stand around, like, we're there to for the restaurant to be successful, and that means
Correct.
stepping in and helping.
I mean, I have like likewise, right? You walk into your restaurant, it's a bad day. You're just like, well, I'm the backup that they didn't think they had, right? And so I've
Mhm.
I've been there before. Like I remember I went to a restaurant one day. I was like, I'm just gonna swing by. We're driving this way on our way back from Costco. I'm like, I want a beer and a breeze, right? And then I walked there. It was not going the way their day planned. So like I was like, all right, well, this is the day that I was given. And so then that happens sometimes, but that's just business as well, right?
Yeah,
And
totally.
I think that, the goal that kind of what you've established at your business is the ability to create some sort of buffer, right? Though it's not perfect, right? It's, you're always going to be the owner, right? Which means you write the check for everything. And so, but, having general management and on-site management is a life changer. It's how you're able to run a restaurant in San Diego, how I'm able to have restaurants in Jalisco, Mexico, and live in Cabo, right? If you didn't have that, man, it would just be, piles of ashes, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to and it is challenging. It's challenging for a lot of people to learn to delegate. Like, delegating tasks, because you always feel like, "Well, I could do this better." But I
Correct.
learned that with my first business, like, you have to learn to delegate or else you won't scale. And maybe scaling is not your thing. Like, there's plenty of people
Correct.
who want to open a business and work in their business and not have it grow. That people are fine with
Correct.
that, and that's great. There's tons of mom and pop businesses and family-owned restaurants, and if that's your thing, that's your thing. But if you're looking to scale, you have to learn to delegate.
It's interesting you say that because when I started the virtual staffing call center business, I thought everyone wanted to scale. Like, who didn't want to grow their business, right? It was like a very like, blinded perspective. And then I actually created two categories because I have groups that want to grow that can't grow because they're in the trenches, they're running the business,
Mhm.
they're not growing the business. And I have other folks that are like, I like running my business and I like being the person who runs it, but I just don't want to run it all the time. Like, but I don't like, they're like, this thing does 5 million a year. Like, I want to keep doing 5 million a year. Thumbs up. Right. But how do I do less of what I'm doing without growing it? And so sometimes replacing yourself with those tasks is what we find people want to do because not everyone wants $100 million business.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like you. I want to be the best at everything. We took these personality tests one time, like to see how you are in like your job and everything. I've taken
So
like I've taken like three different ones. And basically all of them say that I am 98% more competitive than the rest of the population, which gets me excited because what that means is that I'm winning at being in the most competitive
I'm
category.
winning. I'm winning at winning. That's so funny.
But,
That's
like, it's crazy, like, I'm not like, I'm insane, so I get, like, so competitive, so, but again, that helps for scaling and growing.
yeah, I tell people all the time, I never said I wasn't crazy. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I never said like people like, oh my god, that's inspiring. Like, and they start working with me. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm crazy. Right. And that's you have to listen, people, you have to be a little off your rocks to be different, right?
Yeah.
We all look at like an extreme example, right? Would be Elon Musk, right? You
Yeah.
can't judge this man based off what he does. He is not from this world, right? So he's
Literally on
not,
another planet.
he's literally an alien. And so, and so when you say personality test, because I did a program, I was a lead fellow for Purdue University, for a while And it was interesting because to get the position, I had to do a personality test. And I had done those in the military and stuff before. But this was like a different angle. They really wanted to map out like what type of entrepreneur I was, right?
Yes.
And how I faced problems and adversity and things like that. And the most interesting thing of that ridiculously long examination was the result was I will escalate things to conflict because I know that most people don't feel comfortable in conflict, but I thrive in conflict. And so even if there's a negotiation taking place, it's very calm. I will escalate it to a conflict level because I know I could win there. Like
That's so interesting.
I take you to my field. And so once I learned that about myself, I was like, huh, I do that, don't I? It's like, I do that.
I'm like, I'm not shy from conflict either. I mean, I don't love it, but like, it doesn't, like, I can handle it.
When
I thrive in
you
chaos, I guess.
And you have to be a serial entrepreneur. Like you have to be, the SEAL team of you starting a business because there's business owners who start businesses that are for the most part not chaotic. But when you're a serial entrepreneur and your mindset is growth, right? And your mindset is driving to a perfection, even though we know we can never achieve. As my wife says, that my goal is 80% of what I actually want, right? I'm just going for a B, right?
Yeah.
80% of what Cody would do is what I aim for with my teams. But you have to be a little bit different, and my nanny, who we have a live-in nanny here because I couldn't survive people, or I couldn't run the companies and survive. We were at Costco, and she's from Oaxaca, like she looks very Mexican,
Mhm.
right? And my wife is from Jalisco, so she looks very similar to you, right? Lighter eyes, lighter skin. And she asked the lady in front of her to move, right? And she's like, "Oh, excuse me." And the lady looked at her, gave her the up, down, and then went back to what she's doing, right? And my wife was there, and she's like, "Hey, like, excuse me," in Spanish. She's like, "Whoa, I was moving." She's like, "Not fast enough. This is not a museum, right? All right, this is Costco. Let's like
Yeah.
orderly." And she says, she's like, "I don't think most people on this planet are ready for their interactions with you and Cody. They're just not like we don't know what's going to come out of their mouth." And that's been a
Yeah.
problem for me and my restaurants on occasion. So I've been
Yeah.
canceled a few times. Well, they've tried.
You wanna hear a really funny story about being
Please,
canceled?
please.
This is the greatest story ever. So, our customers tried to cancel us over free water. So, basically, for years and years, we had this, like, lemon and orange lime infused water that would sit on the countertop, at our restaurants, and people would just come up. But what was happening is, as inflation and labor and all these things continue to rise, it's like, okay, the staff, it's constantly empty. The staff are having to refill it. It's like an extra thing they have to worry about. People are filling up their giant, like, Stanley cups and Yeti things or whatever, and it's draining it. Homeless people are coming in and touching it. Like, it's unsanitary. And our NA beverage sales were down. So I said to my partners, hey, listen, like, what if we just put the water, like, behind the counter and they have to ask for it, like how you do at any other restaurant? Like,
Correct.
you have to ask for a cup of water because people were just taking advantage of the
Of
situation.
course.
And we're losing money by not selling any of our NA beverages, like non-alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, fine. So we have this group in Vegas on Facebook. It's called Las Vegas Vegans. There's probably like 17,000 people in there. Most of those people, of course, are not vegan. There's not that many vegans, but people just want to. It is like these people, it's like the vegan police. So someone went in there and was like, Tacotarian took away the free water. And within 6 hours, there was like hundreds of posts like canceling us because we took away the free water. Like they were going to call the police. They were going to call, I mean, they were doing memes like, give me liberty, give me death, or give me like lemon infused free water. I mean,
Oh my
like,
God.
literally, people were there was thousands of comments in this group about how we took away the free water and how we're the devil, how we don't deserve to have a restaurant anymore, how we're gonna kill people because we're not giving. Meanwhile, all you had to do was ask for the water. It was still there. It didn't have the lemon and the lime in it, but the free water. So at
That's
first I was, like, panicking, like, how am I gonna get this under control. And then I thought about it and I told my husband, I was like, we have to double down on this. Like, we have to, from a marketing perspective, we cannot let them do this and like cancel us essentially. And so he's like, I don't know, babe. Like, it's just going to make it hurt. Like, you're going to anger them. And
Correct.
it's like mob mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but how many of these people, number one, are really our customers? And how many, and some of them were, because I was getting like threatening, like literally threatening DMs, like people threatening us over water. And so I was like, we have to double down. So I went to my husband was like, let's ask our partners and see like what they think. So I went to my partners and I thought everyone was going to shoot me down. I was like, we have to double down. Like, we have to do a special that's like for, the next 3 days, like drink margaritas, save water. Like, if you order a margarita, you get like a free taco and a side of water or something. So they actually were like, yes, we cannot let them get away with it. So and so then my business partner went and created shirts that says, keep calm, we still have free water. And we ordered them for all the staff at every location to wear like that weekend, just to like troll people. And so we did that, and I posted in the group, like just in that group, because that was the group where it happened, saying like, hey, save water, drink margaritas, free taco with this. And it had like 1,000 comments within an hour of people being like, this is how you market. Like, I'm going there this weekend. And our sales skyrocketed for that weekend. Like, it was insane. Everybody rallied behind us because we didn't allow them to take us down, you
You
know?
can. I love that you did not cower away, right? And that's so important because I've seen restaurants like go out of business due to
Yes.
boycotts and to cancellation and pausing on that because like I can't believe people would be so ridiculous as to cancel someone's entire livelihood over an opinion they have regarding the business. Like just pausing, like it blows my mind. Like if I eat a burger somewhere, I'm not asking the morality of the owner. I don't care. I want my burger cooked correctly, my fries to be crispy, and I want my drink to be cold, right? I don't care what God he supports or his opinion on politics. Like I just care about this. But people will close your business for the perception of not having free water anymore.
Yes. No, they absolutely would have. And then they would have cried that we have no vegan businesses because they've all closed down. And like
Correct.
after they just went after every vegan business. So that's the irony of it.
Well,
But yeah,
I love that you did that because my wife is just like you. I I was trained in the military that you win every fight you avoid, right? I was in a specialized group where we weren't really there to fight people. We were there just to collect information. And like we had to fight is because we had to fight,
yeah.
right? So by default, if I can avoid it, right? My motto is like, did I start it? Okay, I started it. Well, can I avoid it escalating? If I can avoid it escalating, I stop. If I can't avoid it escalating, I fight, right? That's always been my mentality. And we survived about three boycotts and three cancellation attempts, but the last one was the worst, right? We were in the newspaper, in the Guadalajara Gazette, right? I'm, by the way, you should all know, I'm apparently a mafia member, a jefe with the cartel. So you should all be very afraid because that was in the newspaper and it was all over some stuff that may or may not have a slight amount of validity. However, right, not the mafia thing, but the other things that were done. But my wife's like, we cannot let this go place. I'm like, no, it'll die off like the other ones did. She's like, I don't think this one's dying off. Like people are really mad about this. And we had people like standing outside of our like restaurants. They were so upset.
Yeah.
And, my wife's like, okay, well, let's go at this full head on. Like, and so she basically started doing press release and advertisements that, were countering what was being said about us and like, all the rumors. And then eventually we came to the process of like, we're getting canceled on something called Friendly Gringos, right? You have your vegan Facebook page. We're getting Friendly Gringos, friendly being in the name, right? So just for the record, there's like 30,000 people in this group chat and they were lighting us up over. So every Sunday we had a string quartet playing at
Yeah.
one of our restaurants. And then one random day, some American from Louisiana decided that he was going to bring his amplified guitars and plug them in on the plaza and play classic rock music at the same hours that our quartet was playing, right? And, because we were a fancy, posh little breakfast restaurant. And we couldn't allow that to take place. So I went over and asked him politely. I was like, hey, brother, American, right? Do you mind playing earlier or later? Because we've been playing, and he lost his mind on me. I'm like, well, I can see we're not going to get through with any type of communication. So I just went to the people that I know at the presidency and I was like, hey, do they have a permit? They
Yeah.
don't have a permit? Okay, they don't have a permit. They can't play here. And that right there set off a chain reaction, because the next time they went to go play, the police and the permit people came and said, hey, listen, you can't play amplified music. You can't have a concert without a permit. And they went crazy. They all went off on us. And so our solution was eventually because at that point in time, we were pretty much burned in our image. So we just changed the perception of ownership of the organization. We're like, hey, listen, actually, we took on a partner. They're running the business now. So we run the business. But after that event, it was just so impossible for I walk through those cities and people still know who I am. Like, they're like, oh, you're the Los Gringos guy. Right.
That's crazy.
Because we were in the newspaper, it was so wild. But hey, we still survived. And now everyone should know the people who boycott us are posting on the Friendly Gringos photos in my restaurant. So, I win.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, that's insane. Like, over a musician, they were like,
Over not having free water. And those are things that you kind of have to deal with at the business side of things, because, one thing that, it's in our favor, but it's also in our hindrance occasionally, is open forums for reviews. Like the idea that anyone can go, if they visited your restaurant or not, can
right.
go to Google and write a review. It's the same thing with us on Indeed, right? We hire hundreds of employees like through Mexico, and not all of them are going to have very happy experiences. And whether they did or they didn't, we had one guy have all his friends write us bad Indeed reviews, right?
I didn't know you could review on Indeed.
You can, right? You can. It's horrible. I didn't really think it was that important, but we go on there and we found out that this guy was having all his buddies write bad reviews for telehelping, saying we weren't paying people, and it's like, you can't do anything about it except, hey, Indeed, we never employed these people, right?
Yeah.
And so it's so tough in the service industry to be able to be subject to non-verified public opinions.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Google, Yelp, all of those things, even if you prove that person never ate at the restaurant, they won't take it down. They don't care.
Correct. We've had reviews from people who were reviewing the restaurant next to our restaurant, and we're like,
Oh, yeah.
clearly this is not our food.
Yeah, and it has photos of the restaurant. You're like, that's not my restaurant. I have that too. They don't take it down.
That's wild. So what is your next venture as you're peering into the buy sell biz on a daily basis, right? That's your scroll junk, right? What's on the radar for you next?
I honestly don't. I'm going back and forth. So we do have one short-term rental property in Mexico, not far from where you are, that we love, and it has actually been a really great investment for us and a really great vacation rental. It's been relatively easy. So I'm kind of leaning towards getting an STR in the US. Because I think, like, if I can do it in the middle of East Cape, Mexico without too many problems, and I'm really far away, I can probably do it pretty easily here. I'm just torn on what kind of property I want, or if I want to do like a land play near like a national park and do like a glamping. I don't know. I go back and forth a lot. So to your point, I should be moving quicker and making a decision, but I've been just like eyeballing properties and deciding what I want to do.
Yeah, they I always compare everything to gunfighting, because there's like parts where you're shooting guns where you're moving really quick, and there's parts where you're moving really slow, right? I always say when you're drawing a pistol, for example, you're moving really slow out of the holster, and then you're quick to target. When you're purchasing a property, it's better to be slow at that one little phase right there. But when you just, and I know you at this point, because I feel like I'm that same person. When you make that decision,
Oh,
you're
I'm
gone.
gone.
It's
Yeah.
gone, right? It goes from like, you're like stutter stepping, sprint into action. And
Yeah.
we have a property in Mexico City as well that is an STR. Um, I can shoot you. So the building's amazing. I love the building. They have a couple folks who are selling their multi-bedroom apartments there. 97% occupied year round,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And so it is the entire building. I actually found this place for sale because my wife and I, we'd always go to Mexico City. We'd always stay at the penthouse on the very top, which is really great because it has a really, it's on the park that's like the central park for historic Ciudad de Mexico. And they have
Mm-hmm.
all these statues and museums you can see around the park. So it's very beautiful. So we bought an apartment on the 5th floor of that same building. And they have a couple there if you're interested. They're like, out the door, like ready to rent, which is why I purchased it because this lady who owned it had a beautiful P&L. Like it was so well documented.
Oh, so she was already renting it and then just,
Correct.
yeah, using it as a business. So she
Yeah,
had to
I
document it.
took it over from her. Yeah, and so she already was operating, and then I bought it, and it's just continued the bookings and added it to my SDR portfolio. But
Yeah, that's nice.
Vegas is tough though. But I love the play that you mentioned about the glamping.
Yeah.
Um, because I have a buddy of mine who has some property off the North Sonoma coast.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 35 minutes from Sonoma, and he had a house there, beautiful house, like beautiful house. Like it sat right over top of a bluff that overlooked a cove, right?
Yeah.
And it looked south west. Well, it caught on fire due to
Oh,
electrical fire. And
no.
so him and I were in Japan during this time and it burned down. So I've been trying to tell him, he's like, oh, I'm just going to sell the property to the national park. It sits right on the side of like multi-thousand acre national park,
Yeah.
right? And it's on this bubble. I'm like, no, we need to improve the land, right? And then put pods there, like glass pods that overlook.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that's what I want to do, but he's not sold on it. So he lives in Budapest. He has a place in Budapest. So he's like, I'm just gonna live in Budapest for now. And so
Um, yeah, I've seen there's like a couple different ways you could go about it. You could do like, have you ever seen it in one of those like under canvas places?
yes, yeah,
Those are like super expensive. That's like 400 or 500 bucks a night. But they're like basically like just tents on like a deck. So you
correct,
could do something like that. I mean, those that have like plumbing and stuff like that. But you could do something like that. Or I've seen people do where they have kind of like almost like a shed that they've converted to just like a studio. And so there's a couple properties that already have like that little tiny unit on there, and then you could like cut the roof off for like stargazing because all these properties are kind of in the middle of nowhere.
correct. Yeah, you can see every star in the sky. I mean, you lose 30 minutes before his house, you lose cell phone reception until you get back to a Starlink,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And like the barrier to entry is relatively low because like there's land in some of these places. Like near the Grand Canyon, there's land for like 7,000 an acre.
wow.
But it's
And
a
you're right
little
there.
oversaturated with people doing similar plays.
Correct. But that's what I was telling him because down at the bottom of this cove on this bluff, there is an RV park, right? That you can't
Mhm.
see. And I said, well, you need to, like, the RV park exists, which means the little amount of infrastructure that supports the RV park is already present for you. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm like, take the cash value of your house,
Mhm.
right? And then buy, like, what are those little micro homes, mini homes?
Yep.
Just like mini homes, it's like an RV with no wheels, right? And just
Yeah.
pop 5 of those things up, run the plumbing, and then, you already have all the infrastructure there, the well and everything. It would be beautiful.
And yeah, because he's already one step ahead. Because on all these land ones, you have to figure out like an incinerator toilet and all this because there's no plumbing or water. Like the water has to be hauled, like trucked. But if
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
already got all that infrastructure, no brainer.
Same. Look at that. Everyone, we just started 2 businesses. So uh, I'm going to call him after this, actually. We have a scheduled call.
Good.
And so, well, Kristen, it's been amazing chatting with you. I think that, I mean, you're going to find success whatever direction you run towards. And
Thank
I
you.
think the one thing that you and I balance is, which projects to pick up and for how long, because we have to be able to pick them up, make them sustainable, and pass them off, right?
Yep.
And so it feels like kind of the track that we find ourselves on oftentimes. But I'm really excited for your path with the restaurant and getting franchised. That's going to be
Yeah.
super exciting. And
It'll-
please, when we'll stay in contact, when you do make your way back down to the Cabo area, we'll have to get dinner with your husband and my wife. That would be super fun.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. We have not been in since November. I can't believe it. We've been so busy,
Uh,
but we have to get out there.
yeah, you can wait a month right now. It is scorching, right?
Oh, yeah, no, I don't summer.
Right. Yeah, right now I can't wait for about a month from now. It starts coming down the backside of the 90s, and then
Yep.
it'll be a little bit more pleasant.
Yes, agreed. But it's not
Well,
112 like it is here.
it's not, yeah, no, it is not 112. It's 89 and it's still Cabo. So
Yeah.
it's not Vegas.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you as a guest. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks so much. Bye.
This video was brought to you by our official sponsor, Telehelping. Need support for your business? Telehelping connects you with top-tier remote staff to help you streamline operations and fuel growth. Go to telehelping.com and get started today.